TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's Friday. It's time. 3 Men and a Box with Matt Grissom talking some NCAA football. And in the second half hour, Adam Trigger back for week 2. He'll be here till we cut the nets down, or then we'll probably be talking KBO baseball or whatever. So make sure you stay tuned there. Shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships. Of course, it's Viva Tequila Seltzer. Go follow CT Bets. He's got some good information, some great content, some great colleagues and friends as well there. But the East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. Viva Tequila Seltzer, WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download that app. It's free. I don't know if you saw or if you followed the CXO, Mr. Travis Geiger, walking out yesterday with his Ocho Cinco shirt on. And who walks in but Ocho Cinco? If you haven't seen it, head on over to WagerWire. Follow them. Go follow CXO Travis Geiger and see the video of him and Ocho Cinco talking it out. And, of course, Atlanta Steak and Seafood, Terry Smith. Jump on over to Facebook, introduce yourself, tell them JD from ECSI sent you. And while you're over there, go over to Atlanta Steak and Seafood website. And at the promo code this week, Seafood20. It is seafood month there. Any box, lobster tails, salmon, sea bass, whatever he has, $20 off. Seafood20, use it there. So without further ado, and of course, shout out to the man behind the glass, the best in the business, Mr. Elijah Cox. Thank you for all you do for us. Now, let's bring in the co-star of this show, Mr. Matt Grissom. What is up, Matty?
Good afternoon, Jeffrey. How are you?
We're doing good. We moved the show up a half hour. As soon as this show is over, I will be heading up to get my wingman, Mr. Anthony Pepe, in Canton as we head off to the Heights. Boston College hosting Louisville, which a couple weeks ago was looking like this hell of a matchup, and the Eagles' wings have gotten clipped the last few weeks, and Louisville seems to be rounding into form, but we won't talk about that game. How was Vegas?
It was a blast, as always. The crew over at Circa, they just always take really good care of me. So got to chummy it up with Derek and Bill 80 over at VSIN. It was a great trip, though. Hogs, definitely the down part of the whole trip. Had a little bit of money on the Razorbacks, and they just absolutely did not show up. But you know what? That's college football. I was on too good of a run heading into Las Vegas that I just kind of knew it was going to happen. And then you saw it one thing after another. Georgia, I think, was my biggest bet that cashed, but lost on Louisville plus the points. Just couldn't hang with them. But yeah, overall, great weekend.
Have you planted that seed of we figured out? I mean, I know, and we got a long way to go to this, but Omaha, before you know it, we're going to be transitioning into college baseball, and they're going to get into the season. And this trip, Omaha, and Derek's got big, big things for Circa and Derek planned this year. Are we in, or are we working to be in?
Yeah, we're in. Derek said for sure this doesn't happen without you, which made me feel really good. He introduced me to some more people. Every single time, the owner of the largest sports book in America, he throws his arm around me. Derek's a big guy, throws his arm around me, and everybody that walks up, he says, "Hey, this is the best college baseball handicapper I've ever seen." Do you know how awesome that is? Like, I get most people don't know about college baseball and really like get into it like we do, but man, I mean, just what I just stand there and blush. Like, what do you say to that?
You don't.
I've just
You
been on a really lucky streak for the last 6 years. I don't know, but no, it's awesome. He's great, and he's definitely told me that when they move production for every VSiN show, apparently they're going to go out to Las Vegas or Omaha and do shows from there, from either Rocco's or the Mat or over in Iowa, like where Circa Sports is legal. He wants to take all of his limousines out there, like the Circa branded limos, so that he can transport people across the river to bet on Circa Sports before the game. So it may be like queuing on 10, 15 minutes before to do like a little pregame show, like a tailgate show. I'm really excited about it, obviously.
Well, I think last year too, in one of your runnings in the Wager Wire team was out there as well. So we're going to have to make sure that we all connect there. And I got that all the dates and everything all set up here. I'm trying to finagle the bagel here. Might have to wink, wink, and get the Grissom or Derek Stevens hookup to to be able to be a part of such festivities.
Yeah, you've got to get out there if you've never been. Omaha is just hands down, in my opinion, one of the best sporting venues. I've been to Sugar Bowl, SEC Championship. I've been to Elite Eight games, Final Four games. There's nothing better than Omaha. You get the 8 best teams, and it's duke it out, double elimination tournament. It's almost like you're watching your favorite little league team, like maybe a nephew or a son play, and it's just all day at the ballpark, except you get to watch it with elite level talent. Yeah, just awesome. But people didn't come to listen to me ramble about college baseball. Um, we've got football, Jeff, and I think it's kind of a sneaky good slate, especially starting with the game tonight, Boise State, UNLV.
And I got my board up for tonight's game, and it's funny because the opening number was 3 with the 66.5. They're betting the under down to 63.5 at the Circa. Good morning to Mr. Benson and Mr. Stevens. The total, we're up to 3.5 minus 5 cents. Mr. Benson showing us that the next move back to 3. I got team totals here. Boise State 34.5 juiced under minus 125, and UNLV 30.5 juiced under minus 125. It's going to roll this ball out here. I think both teams get into the 30s. Everyone I've brought on here lean Boise State. What's your thought, Matt?
Yeah, well, I'm just another one. I think Boise State probably is the better team. They come in about 4 points power rated higher. You take a little bit off for UNLV for home field advantage, and you could maybe make a case they're 1.5 there in Las Vegas, but I don't know. Boise State fans are going to travel. I think it's just going to be a great game, and I don't know how exactly I'm going to bet it yet. If I may look at like a first half or first quarter over. I do think points are scored in this one. We haven't really seen either team play great defense. UNLV did there for a little bit, but then it just got blown up. I would really like to see UNLV win, but I think Boise State's probably the better team.
Yeah, and the winner of this with the Liberty loss, we had Paul Stone on yesterday. He made it clear with that big, huge upset on Wednesday, the Liberty loss, the winner of this game has a big leg up to potentially be that Power Five team into the final 12 there, which will be exciting there. Rutgers USC. Rutgers USC opened at 14.5, now down to 14 with the 56. And of course, I talked about Louisville and BC opened at 6.5 with a 53, now 7.5 minus 110 with a 54. Any leans on those, Matt?
I mean, Rutgers started really good, and then I don't know. USC again started really good, beat LSU, like kind of looking like, wait, USC may have a pretty good team, and then they've just fallen off. I don't know. I want to stay away from it. Matt Human said on their on the VSiN College Football Betting Show, he said, "I'm at this point of the season, I'm going to try to not bet on bad teams." And I'm like, you know what? As simple as that is, yeah. Why? I think at this point, they've all showed you what they are. Do you really want to back either team right now? I mean, USC minus 13.5 are projections on our site. And this is where the part of the season where I'll really lean on these because they see everything. USC's minus 6.1 points. Like maybe Rutgers plus the points is the value play here. I don't know. But again, I don't want to bet on either one of them. There's bad teams. And then
It's
what was the other
funny
one you
thing.
said? Louisville, Boston College?
Yeah.
I think Louisville probably wins. But again, for Friday night games, I feel like the dogs have been barking. So you may just go Boise State, Rutgers, and Louisville, all the road teams. 2 of them dogs. Let it rip Friday night.
Friday night lights, let it rip. Saturday, some big games. One that everyone's going to be watching at MetLife, the undefeated Navy shipment come in. This line was 13.5, tipped all the way to 11.5. Now back up to around that 13.5. And listen, if you look on paper, you look on the weights, the speed, and you do all that, this is like, and no disrespect to Navy, men playing with boys. You look at strength, the schedule, yada, yada, yada. But there's something special going on with this Navy team. And the public's all in on Navy this week, not just plus the points. They got the money line every which way but loose. Everyone in the world is rooting for Navy. Yet Notre Dame, again, they go into the Aggies opening week. They don't shock the world. There was a 3-point line either which way. So, but then they come in and lay the egg against Northern Illinois, and they've been spotless since. Thoughts on Navy and Notre Dame, Matt?
I think it's going to be a great game. I think for a lot of people, me included, it's going to be their first time to really watch Navy, watch a 4-quarter Navy game. And Notre Dame, yeah, they've struggled. I still think this team makes a playoff, so they're going to have to beat Navy and I think Army later on in the season. But I get why the public is backing Navy. You know, go America. You want to support the troops. You want to support the service academies. I think Notre Dame is going to win this game by 3+ touchdowns, though. You look back, I think it was 2019, the last time that both these teams were ranked in the top 25. Notre Dame won that game like 52-20. I think it's something very similar to that.
I think I will probably be on the Notre Dame team total. I think they, when they're in spots like this, they're going to score early and often. Not that the academy won't try to slow the game down, but it's definitely going to be interesting there. I asked you backstage, and I almost feel dirty asking before we get the Razorback temperature. The SEC, a lot of moving parts last week. The landscape is now set after, of course, the Alabama loss to Tennessee, which we'll get to in a second. Aggies, LSU, the winner of this game, Matt, has really entrenched themselves into the final 12 discussions.
Yeah, who would have thought that the top 2 teams in the SEC would be playing this week? and not last week or the week before. I think A&M probably has the advantage just being at home. And LSU, look, I'll be the first to admit, because I bet on Arkansas last week. I thought it was a letdown spot for LSU coming off the big overtime win against Ole Miss. They showed up, and Garrett Nussmeier is a really good quarterback. What I did notice is that every time he gets uncomfortable, when he can sense the pocket is collapsing, Landon Jackson hit him a couple times. Every single time, I rewatched the game. Every time that we got a hand on him while he was throwing, it was an incompletion. Now, every other time he threw that little 8-yard hitch route to Kyron Lacey that Arkansas could not stop. And also, they run a read option. Nussmeier's not a runner. So that is just like a handoff. And I don't know why he kept getting Arkansas's defense to bite on that. Like, that DB needs to be cutting over. It's going to the running back every single time. Nussmeier never read it and then kept it. So, anyways, just noticing things like that, and then knowing that Mike Elko and that defensive prowess that he has, I feel like Texas A&M is going to be able to slow down Nussmeier. And then Connor Weigman, he's been playing a lot better, and I was low on this guy. If I can find my notes, I don't know where they are. I think it was 118th in pass defense is what LSU is ranked. 105th in pass defense in success rate. So give me Weigman against that lesser defense of LSU, and let's hope that Texas A&M can keep Nussmeier out of the end zone.
You know, kind of comical. Can you imagine this LSU team if Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas decided to stick and stay?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be dangerous. But look, LSU's just kind of rinse and repeat with talent. Every year, I feel like they've got wide receivers. Kyron Lacey may be the next one that's a first-round draft pick. It's not going to surprise me at all.
Give us the hog report, Matt.
You know, I talked about this on a recap show. If you remember back last year, I think Arkansas went on the road as a dog to take on Florida, and we won in overtime. And then, you know, we started building a little bit of momentum. We thought, you know, hey, 6 wins is possible. We could get to a bowl game, albeit it would be a crappy one. It's still, you know, a feather in your cap to say that you turned it around and made a bowl. What do? We host Mississippi State at homecoming in Fayetteville, and we put up 3 points. We lose 7-3. We came out flat. We knew immediately that this was going to be a long day. Now, fast forward to last week. That's probably where my head should have been, that we came off a big win. We're feeling good going into the bye, and now LSU's coming to town. Do we show up and be flat? And that's exactly what we did. So we got that ugly one out of the way. We got a big win with Tennessee. We got the ugly loss, the flat loss against LSU. Other than that, Arkansas has been in every single game that they've played in. They're 4-2 against the spread. I mean, Sam Pittman, he covers lines. Now, that being said, as a favorite, not so great. I know a lot of people, Matt Humans, Tim Murray, they all like Mississippi State this weekend +7. I did it a different way. I like Arkansas, Mississippi State under 57. I think there is a case to be made that Mississippi State probably has a more confident offense right now with the way that I think it's Van Buren has been playing for Mississippi State. And Taylor Green, we still don't really know. You know, he didn't look great last week. He had way too many turnovers. Jaquindon Jackson's going to be out. So you're going to have the freshman Braylon Russell, a little bowling ball. He's going to be toting the rock. I could see how at 11:45 in the morning, when you've got those damn cowbells ringing in your ear, that Arkansas starts slow. Now, if you start slow and you're a 7-point favorite, I would say that game pretty much ends up as a dead under, like a 28-13 type game. I don't know. But I do like the under in that one, considering last year's game was 7-3 final.
Well, at this time, it's time to ring the cowbell. Elijah, hit it, please.
All right. So, like I said, I sent you my email of my picks, and then I have lost it completely. So, Arkansas, Mississippi State under 57. Arkansas is 4-0 to the under in SEC games and have averaged only 17.5 points in SEC games. Arkansas's defense was challenged last week. They got blown up by Garrett Nussmeier. I expect Travis Williams to rally them and get it going. Then I'm on Vanderbilt, America's sweetheart. Vanderbilt in the top 25. Vandy's 4-0 ATS is a double-digit dog, 3-1 straight up. I'm not saying that they're going to beat Texas, but Quinn Ewers didn't look 100% last week either. And I'm beginning to think that we're going to keep playing this game. Do we see Arch Manning? When do we see Arch? If you start slow against Vandy, Diego Pavia is going to make you pay. Texas coming off a tough loss. I could see this being a flat spot. Vanderbilt plus 18. Wisconsin plus 7.5. The Badgers are playing really well right now. They're 3-0 ATS in their last 3. Penn State on an opposite trajectory, 0-3 ATS in their last 3. I think it could be your typical James Franklin slip-up game. Looking ahead, Ohio State coming to town next weekend. Don't sleep on this Wisconsin team. They're playing really well right now. And then I talked about it earlier, Texas A&M. I'm on money line, 105th pass defense and success rate for LSU. It's so hard in this league to get up and show out 3 weeks in a row now. LSU had to do it against Ole Miss, then Arkansas. Now you go on the road, College Station. I'm just going to trust the defense here with Mike Elko and the coaching staff. SMU minus 11. I don't love this play at 11. I really wish you could get it under 10, but with the way that SMU has been playing right now, I feel pretty good about them. And outside of Clemson, I think they're in the driver's seat to make a run for the ACC to play Miami. I'm not sure if SMU and Clemson play. When they do, I need to look that up. But SMU ranks 4th in defensive efficiency. I don't see a path for Duke to score points. SMU's been rolling 4-0 ATS in their last 4. Yes, Duke is 6-1, but they have not been a very good 6-1. And then my last play, I'm not sure. I have lost it.
UCF.
Oh, yes. The pros versus Joes. I feel like everybody is on UCF. At UCF money line, I don't like those 1.5, 2-point spreads. It's kind of the weird line though. BYU ranked undefeated, going on the road to take on a 3-4 or 4-3 UCF team. Why are they favored? Well, like Tim Murray always says, embrace the stink. That line stinks. Just like Auburn last week, plus 4.5 versus Missouri. They cover that one. I think I said it on the show. My buddy, he's a square better. He was like, make Missouri minus 4.5 make sense. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, that's an easy bet. I'm going to take Missouri all day. Okay. This is the same thing. I feel like it's BYU. Everybody's just going to load up on BYU, thinking this line is wrong. I know so much more than the books. And that's not a jab at public. Public wins sometimes, okay? But if you watch that BYU Oklahoma State game last week, they should have lost that game.
That was an amazing game. I told you on the show. I says not only do I love Oklahoma State, I not only do I love their team total. Kelly, sprinkle a little pizza and beer money. They were in a prime spot there, and I don't want to say a fluke touchdown, but I'm calling it a goddamn fluke. Excuse me, a fluke touchdown there. 35 yards, last play of the game. It is what it is, but you're right. BYU opened up a 2-point favorite. That flipped immediately. I was high on UCF pre-flop. Big disappointment so far this year. I think they definitely hand BYU their first loss. Matt, scroll has been going the whole time, obviously on X, on Twitter, on Grissom on X, NCAA Insiders. But as we always end your segment here on the show, tell them where they can find all your work.
Go to www.collegefootballinsiders.com. We continue to make updates to that site. And like I said, when we get into this point of the season, there's no way that you can recall all of these games for every single team. But guess what? Analytics see every game, they see every play. It's all tracked there. It's absolutely free. Parker Fleming of College Football Graphs at Statso War on Twitter. He's done a phenomenal job along with Nick Demmett, our website guy, to build this amazing tool. So go use it. And then I'm at Grissom on X or at NCAA Insiders on X. Go follow us, check us out. And we'll have our show coming up here at about 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
Shout out to Quentin Mills on assignment again this week. He's going to be on assignment for the next few weeks. We might have a fill-in for the next few weeks. Get back that 3 men in the box. We'll figure that out as always. Matt, enjoy your weekend. Let's cash some tickets, and we'll catch up with you next week, same time.
Sounds good, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Elijah, let's go to a couple quick commercial breaks, and when we're back, Adam Trigger. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Well, we're at that time of the show. Again, a great shout out to Mr. Matt Grissom. We're in year 2 of NCAA Insiders. We started with some college baseball. It just, again, nothing scripted here. I wanted to talk about Omaha and baseball. And then, of course, we segue into football. And next Friday at this time, we're going to be starting some college basketball. Adam Trigger made his debut last week, his 2024 debut at the ECSI network, and he's back, and he'll be here all the way through cutting the nets down. And I even hinted at him, who knows, after that we could be talking KBO baseball and yada yada yada. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Adam Trigger. What's up, Adam?
What's going on, Jeff? Thanks for having me, as always. We're very close. Trying to see my calendar. Probably 9 days away from tip-off, 10 days away from tip-off at this point, college basketball. So very excited, and have a couple more futures bets to share with you guys today.
Well, you were on last week. You made your debut. How about a little recap to reset the schedule, and then before we start moving forward?
Yeah. So last week I talked about 2.5 bets. I'm gonna give you the other half of the one today. So just if you want the breakdowns for these, just go back to last week's show. Princeton to win the Ivy League. I would make that a full unit bet. That would be my biggest sort of conference futures bet. And, we'll call it a quarter of a unit on Virginia Commonwealth to win the A10. I'll also give the unit designations. These are not something that is going to be part of my service at Wager Talk, but, I want to track these throughout the season here on this show. And so, I want to make sure I'm kind of giving some context in which to play them. So yeah, I would do a full unit on Princeton if you can. And then, just 0.25 on VCU. And then we'll talk about the ACC today. Last week, I made a case for Louisville in that 12 to 16 to 1 range to win the ACC. I'm going to talk about another team sort of in that same range today. I would say, a quarter of a unit on both of these.
We talked last week, this is going to be, for the most part, a basketball-heavy NCAA show. We got about, as you said, about 10 days. Next Friday is November 1st, of course. You will be doing a lot of potential road shows, or we'll move you in earlier through the week. We're seeing online tweets from some of our colleagues here, these secret scrimmages and the scores. Has anything caught your eye? Some of these matchups in some of the scores. You talked last week about VCU, and they put a whooping on someone earlier in the week. Have you been following that? Any of those catching your eye?
I followed it to an extent, but I typically am not going to put a ton of stock into that. Guys, for the most part, guys are going to play, or teams are going to play all of their guys. There are certain things like, Jeff, I look for things like this. Like last year, there was a scrimmage up here where, Taj Tedeschi had a really good game for Canisius, specifically against someone that he played really well against. Like those are the types of things. If I can find those pieces of insight, that's more important to me than the score of the game. So as I just see these scores come in, it's like, I'm not going to put a ton of stock into what the final score was. But if I hear an individual played really well or played poorly, or like there was a matchup that, kind of I thought was interesting, that's the stuff I look to take away from the secret scrimmages.
Well, here, let's go back to the ACC. You want to talk a little about the Hurricanes, who are having a great football season. So the start of the year for the Hurricane basketball team, the fans will probably still be focused on the football. So it'll be interesting, especially those early season home games, the attendance versus, of course, the U in football.
Yeah, Jeff. So last week we did this show I think the day after Tony Bennett announced he was going to retire for Virginia. And, the ACC market was already set at that point. And at that point, I pretty much decided, okay, you could throw Virginia out. Virginia's not winning the ACC this year. There's another team that people seem to be very high on in Wake Forest that I would be willing to oppose at their price point. I think they're going to be very good. I don't know if they play enough defense to actually win the league. So the way that the 17-team ACC league is priced is you've got Duke as the odds-on favorite, North Carolina is that second option, but then there's kind of like 6, 7, 8 teams that are all, priced like relatively similar. And then you have teams with big fan bases like a Syracuse or like an SMU who's new to the league that I don't really think have a chance to win the league. I think they could potentially play their way into the mix. Pitt is another good example. I think Pitt could be very good this year. Do I think they can win the league? Not really, but all of these teams are taking money in the futures market, and that leaves some of these like tier 2 type teams, like a Louisville that we talked about last week, in my opinion, in Miami, that are the teams that really could push the top teams. And if you're going to give me them in the 12 to 14 to 16 to 1 range, I think Miami, you can still find at 12, 13 to 1 to win the ACC some places. That's appealing to me. The reason I like Miami specifically, I almost think it's a little bit of addition by subtraction. They're going to lose some big names, Jeff. Norchad Omier on his way to Baylor. Luga Poplar is no longer with the team. Keyshawn George in the NBA. Bensley Joseph. Those are all big names from last year's team. But I almost think that it was an addition by subtraction. That Miami team last year was a lot of individuals playing individual basketball. They didn't have the shot making that they did 2 years prior when they went to the Final Four. They didn't have a true big. I felt like Omier was kind of undersized and playing out of position at times last year. So now, they go, and I think they hit a couple home runs in the transfer portal. I don't always put a ton of stock into mid-major player transferring up because it can be a different game. But there's 2 guys that Miami went out and got that I think are going to translate. Jalen Blackman from Stetson, great shot maker. 21.4 points per game for Stetson last year, but he's such a good shot maker that I think it probably translates A-Sun going to the ACC. And then AJ State and McCray from Samford. That Samford team, Buckyball, Jeff, was a team that was like 7, 8, 9 guys deep. This isn't a guy coming from a mid-major program that was doing everything, and now he's got to fit into a team. He was already kind of a cog in the wheel at Samford and a great defender, and I think he translates nicely. They also get Lynn Kidd from Virginia Tech. Now they have a true post player. This Miami roster is really good. And Larinaga, as you know, being a Northeast guy, someone we root for up here, is a fantastic coach. I think Miami's going to be in the mix this year.
I'm going to have my eyes on the ACC, of course, throughout the year. And I have to ask you this question again. I'm not a Dookie. I'm not a Tar Heel. I did go down to both of those campuses. when my oldest was taking her tours there. I was absolutely amazed by the Duke campus. When I got to North Carolina, I was like, really, Michael? Really? I was not impressed with that. The one that blew me away was Wake Forest, but that's for another show. My question to you, NBA started. Okay. I'm not an NBA guy till Christmas Day, till after the All-Star break. We'll pick and choose there. But there's going to be a Tankapalooza going on sooner than later. Okay. And obviously, again, the one and done Cooper Flag. I talked to you again about him last week. For the newbies trying to get their feet wet, can you just give us a little temperature report on the Dukies and how special this kid, and he's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft, the potential of the Dukies this year?
Yeah, I want to make this clear too. When I'm playing some of these futures in this I'm not necessarily opposing Duke. Like, I still think Duke's going to probably win this league. I think they're a very, very good team. But Jeff, as we've seen in college basketball in the past few years, there's less certainty with like the great teams, right? Like, you're talking about Flag. He's still a freshman. Teams still have to stay healthy. There's still a lot of movement on top teams. So it really comes down to what the price point is. Duke, I think last time I saw them probably in the plus 150 range to win the league. The thing that I think is getting lost in translation a little bit here with the ACC this year, 17-team league, is that no one is playing the same schedule, not even close. So, you have a team like Duke, it's all luck of the draw. And that's something I talked about last week with Louisville, was I felt like they had a very fortunate ACC schedule. It's another reason I think Miami can be in the mix with a team like Duke, because so the ACC, for those of you who are not aware, 17-team league this year, you play 7 teams at home, 7 teams on the road, and then 3 teams twice, which gives you your final 6 games of the 20-game league schedule. So you talk about a team like Miami, well, they're going to get BC twice, or I'm sorry, they're going to get Florida State twice, they're going to get Virginia Tech twice, and then they're going to get Duke twice. Okay, so they've got 2 cracks at that top team, Duke, and then 4 games against 2 of the worst teams in the league. You talk about how the schedule maybe sets up for Miami. I've kind of got that Miami game, Duke game circled as like the first sort of big game. Miami could be 5-0 going into that game. They play Clemson at home in an early sort of December ACC kickoff game. I don't know why they do that, but they like to play that one conference game in early December. Then they play Boston College, Virginia Tech, Florida State, a home game with Wake Forest. And so they could be 5-0 going into the Duke game. Jeff, it's all about ebbs and flows of the season. If Miami can catch a team like Duke at the right time, they're in the mix, and all we're asking them to be is in the mix. Duke is still the best team in this conference. I'm not going to argue with anyone on that point. They're the best team. They're in a league by their own, in my opinion, at this point. If we're just looking at, before anyone's played a game, if we're looking at the 17 teams in the ACC, Duke is the elite option. They're number one. No one else belongs in that top category yet. But as you know, the ebbs and flows of the season, if things break right, teams are going to be able to be in the mix. Miami's one of those teams, in my opinion.
A great breakdown there again. And I am not rooting for Duke, as you know. And I do the same thing that you do when we're looking for value, when we're looking for teams that are not getting looked properly and that are undervalued, let's say, and you're going to give me this price versus a Duke who's the favorite at 150, deservingly, and then you add, of course, North Carolina, yada, yada, yada. Transition, Chattanooga in the SoCon.
Yeah, so Jeff, this is it's a similar sort of mindset here as to why I would make this play. Now, 12, 16-1 on Louisville, Miami, you can play 2 teams and just hope that one of them gets there. The prices in this, I'm only going to target one team in the SoCon, but some of if you're handicapping conference future, sometimes it's process of elimination. And that's kind of, how I've arrived at Chattanooga here. So you have a 10-team SoCon. You have 2 teams, Citadel and VMI, they're not winning the league. I'll promise you that. If they do, I promise you neither of those teams are going to win this league. Okay. Then you have Wofford and Mercer, in my opinion, probably both take a step forward this year. I know a lot of people like Wofford to potentially be the team that surprises and wins the league. I think they probably make the jump from like 6th or 7th, but I don't know that they have enough to get to first. And then you've got two teams last year, Jeff, that I think take a pretty big step back. One of them is UNC Greensboro, and the other one's Western Carolina. They've just lost too much, in my opinion, to be in the mix at the top, though Greensboro is still kind of being priced as if they will be. I disagree with that. And when you start to get teams in the upper echelon that I don't think belong there, that's when you can start to maybe say, okay, now there might be value to bet a future here. Samford is like your Duke in this sort of example. They're plus 250 to win the league. They are a deserving favorite. But remember, Samford loses like 7 guys from last year. Now, Bucky McMillan's still there. Bucky Ball is still alive and well. He's still a tremendous coach. He's probably the deserving favorite, but that's a lot of turnover. Losing 4 starters is tough. I don't care who you're bringing in. It's hard to lose like 7 players, 4 starters, and just expect that you're going to be right back at the top the next year. So now we get down the line a little bit. Furman, they don't have the players they've had in years past. Bob Ritchie's still a fantastic coach. They don't have the players they've had in years past, so I'll throw them out. And we're getting to like there's only 10 teams. So if you want to oppose Samford, which I want to do here, I'm down to East Tennessee State and Chattanooga, roughly similar priced in the market. Yet I think Chattanooga is a far better team than East Tennessee State. And I actually think Chattanooga may very well have the most talent in this league. Trey Bonham is a senior guard. I think he's the best player in this league. I think you add his backcourt mate there, Honor Huff. They probably have the best backcourt in the league. Dan Earl is a guy I would say is, right up there for top coach in this league. He's actually been in the league as a coach for 10 years. He was at VMI for 7 years, Jeff, an impossible place to win, and had that team playing close to 500 ball. Now he's in his 3rd year at Chattanooga. I almost had this circled 3 years ago when he got this job. I said, give him a couple years at Chattanooga. He's going to win this league. He's going to take as many 3-pointers as any team in the country. He's got the guys to do it. And the other thing I like about this team, last year he had his highest defensive efficiency finish of his entire career, and he's got most of those guys back. So I love continuity. I'll talk about that when we talk about the Patriot League in a minute. A lot of, getting Huff and Bonham coming back. He brought in 2 guys from a Division II level that are like really elite D2 players. I think that's an interesting strategy, sort of going to the D2 ranks and getting elite Division II players that fit his style. If they can defend the way they defended last year, there is so much firepower on this offense, and you're going to give me 5-1 on them as opposed to like plus 250 on a Samford team that's got a ton of turnover. I'll take the 5-1 plus 450, 5-1 on Chattanooga all day. I would play that for like a quarter unit. I think they're going to be in the mix, and I really like them to win the league this year.
You brought up something intriguing. Now, way back in the day when I I coached women's basketball, Division III for Bridgewater State for a couple years. And my point here is you brought up Division II, the from 3 to 2 and then from 2 to 1. Back in the day, a lot of these teams got cute and were grabbing kids from the JUCO programs. And my question to you is now because of the NIL and now because of the transfer portal, and you brought up guys dipping into D2, is the JUCO program kind of dead and buried? Is that move done because of NIL and the transfer portal?
I think there's still a place for it. Like, you got to remember, Jeff, there is 360. What are we at? 363, 364 Division I teams. The JUCO transfers are going to help someone out somewhere, right? And it's all about now, especially for a lot of these teams, it's all about finding value in the human being, like not just like being a good, like I'm not talking about like being a good person value. It's like you're going to have to find players where other guys or other programs are not finding players, right? Like if some of these teams, if a Chattanooga is willing to like go and look at D2 schools for players, then someone down the rank in the conference, like a Citadel or a VMI, like obviously all these schools are different. They might be able to find really good players in the JUCO area, right? Like, so there's, my philosophy is this, like the best players are always going to get recognized. The cream's always going to rise to the top at some point, but It's all about player evaluation. This is the reason that UConn has won back-to-back national championships, and they're going to be in the mix for the third. Their talent evaluation with Dan Hurley and his assistants is so much better than everyone else at this point. You know, it's not like they put something. I've been to stores a million times. There's nothing special in the water there, right? Like it's not luck that they're good. His staff is so good at evaluating talent. They get ahead of everything, and now they've built this place where it's like, well, now all the best players just want to come there and play at UConn anyway. But if you're really good at evaluating talent, you can put a good team together regardless. That's why, you know, some of these coaches, they thrive regardless. And Dan Earl, look at Dan Earl, coach of Chattanooga, VMI. You should never be able to be competitive at VMI. By the end of his tenure at VMI, he had a 500 team in this league, which is insane. So that's why I like Chattanooga so much this year.
Dogs are barking here already. And the only thing at stores after the games is heading over to the Dairy Barn for an ice cream. So we're going to transition into the Patriot League. Lehigh and Navy. What do you see there?
Yeah, so I want to set this up by saying, like, I live 25 minutes from the Colgate campus, Jeff. We've been very spoiled in this area, right? Like every year, the Patriot League final, every single year is over here in Hamilton. They're still a league where the top seed hosts. You know, I get to go to a conference championship game in my backyard basically every year. But all good things come to an end at some point, Jeff. All dynasties come to an end. And I really thought last year was going to be the year that Colgate didn't win this league. Finally, they think they had won it 5 consecutive years in a row. I think last year was year number 6. I know they've been to 5 straight NCAA tournaments. Obviously, we didn't have a tournament in 2020. But no one else in the league was good enough to knock them off last year. Even though Colgate was down, in my opinion, they still had seniors, and no one else in the league was good enough to dethrone them. I think that changes this year. So Colgate loses Braden Smith to Gonzaga. That's tough. Like Colgate typically, you know, the Patriot League in general, guys typically end up at these schools. There's not a ton of transferring. There's not a ton of transfer portal. There really is no NIL at these schools. So it's usually you see, like, you know, the best players kind of stay. They might leave their senior year, but losing Braden Smith, in my opinion, it is difficult for Colgate. They lose Keegan Records. They lose Ryan Moffitt. They lose a rotational piece in Sam Thompson. So Colgate actually did lose quite a bit from last year. And I kind of think the way the books are pricing this, they just don't know anything else at this point. It's like, okay, well, Colgate's just going to win this league every single year. Let's just throw them in at the top spot, plus 150. I'm down on this Colgate roster this year, similarly to like I was last year. But the problem was none of these teams could challenge Colgate last year. So even though I thought that they were on the decline, they still just kind of got by. Matt Langle's still a tremendous coach. They got by on just sheer class alone. This year, I think Colgate's down, and I do think you have some teams that can push them at the top. So I'm going to split a unit here on Lehigh and Navy. And the reason I picked these two, so both of these teams are roughly plus 750, plus 800 right now to win the Patriot League. I'm trying to oppose Colgate, but I think the price point is right for Navy and Lehigh as opposed to American and Boston U, who are in that like 4-1 range. If I'm going to play against Colgate, Jeff, you got to have to give me like 7-8 to 1, and you're getting it here with Navy and Lehigh. Now, why do I like Navy? I think they have the best players in this league right now. They're a little bit thin on the interior. They do lose a couple of their bigs from last year. But Lehigh, in my opinion, has the best players in this conference. Tyler Whitney-Sidney, Keith Higgins, Jalen Sinclair, you know, is coming back. I expect him Jalen Sinclair. The point I'm trying to make here with this team, they have like 5 guards that can really, really play. Cam Gillis will probably start this year, but Whitney-Sidney's the best player in the league. Keith Higgins was hurt a lot of the year last year. He's going to be back to what he normally is. If they can just develop a big with one of their rotational pieces from last year and play interior defense, I think Lehigh wins the league. I think it might be that simple. They have the most talent, and they were hurt for a lot of the year last year. At the end of the year, they finished 7-3. They went to the conference championship game, and they had an injury in the semifinal round in a game they won. Of course, had to come to Colgate and play. That's never easy, especially without one of your best players. The reason I like Navy is I think Navy was the team that, like, I think they show the biggest sort of jump forward. Like, they really played great down the stretch last year, and they were the youngest team in the league. They have virtually everyone back. Ed DeChellis is a great a great coach, in my opinion. Austin Begnini is going to be one of the better players in the league. He was fantastic as a sophomore last year, 17 points per game. Guy lives at the foul line. He's a guard, but he's just a tremendous playmaker. And they defend. They're very pesky on defense. And, all that continuity on their roster. Lehigh returns a top 25 nationally minutes. They return like all their minutes from last year. Navy is up there as well with, just returning everyone. And I love the continuity from last year to this year. They're both in the 8-1 range. So I'm trying to oppose Colgate. That's my goal. I think the best way to do it is to take those two teams in the set plus 750 range, Lehigh and Navy, and give yourself two cracks at it. Again, I think this is going to be a much more competitive league this year. I want to go to the chat real quick. Sean, yes, Jalen Rucker back for Albany. Jalen Rucker back for Army is massive. So Jalen Rucker tried to leave Army and transfer to a different program, but I believe it would have broken his cadet agreement. I don't think you can just transfer and leave West Point after your junior year. I think you would break like cadet code or something like that. So he ended up having to sit out last year. And so he's back. That is absolutely massive for Army. I have Army as a team that I certainly want to bet on. Do I think the rest of the team is good enough to win this league? That's where I'm not sure. I don't know that the rest of the team is good enough to get to first place in this league. Lehigh, I could see it. Navy, I could see it. There's still enough question marks on the Army roster, and I have enough question marks with Coach Kevin Kuick, who was not Rutgers' coach 2 years ago, because they kind of like went in a different direction out of nowhere with the head coach. So I do think our Army is much improved. I think they're probably a bet on, but that's the reason I'm not taking a shot with Army to win the league.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. I can't wait. Next week, November 1st, the season ready officially to tip off. How we always end the segment here, Adam. The scroll has been going the whole time. Everyone knows on Twitter to go find you at Adam Trigger WT. Of course, at wagertalkwt.buzz/AT. Tell the world what you got to offer this weekend and moving forward at Wager Talk, my friend.
Yeah, so all of my plays you can always find at Wager Talk. I post a lot of stuff to all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So my handle's right there. It's the same on all of them, at Adam Trigger WT. I'll post a lot of the things I'm playing for free. I'm going to be on this show every Friday. I'll always try to come with a bet that I'm actually making, not just like a free play. I'll try to bring a bet that I'm actually going to make to the show on a weekly basis. But for all of my picks, they're all in one place at Wager Talk. I've been doing previews. I hope to have 30 done by tip-off on November 4th. And I'm specifically doing previews for all the teams that I went and saw play at least once in person last year. So, I kind of travel around the country and try to get to different games. I'm trying to get to every college venue at some point. It'll probably take me 10 years. I think I'm at like 44, 45. I try to do it, between work commitments and stuff like that. So I hope to get right now, I've been doing this for 2 years, documenting it on social media and whatnot. I hope to get to 25 each year, 25, 30 different ones each year. It gives me a great look at some of these teams, provides a unique sort of, getting to see so many games, different teams, getting to sort of meet people at the different, universities is great for info. And, I hope to be able to share that with you. So I think I'm up 48.6 units, in college basketball the last 2 years at Wager Talk. And I'm looking forward to another profitable season. So look forward to seeing you every Friday, hopefully talking some of these smaller conferences, finding some winners.
Well, we can't thank you enough. Again, you got about a week, 10 days till the season gets going.
I'm ready to go. I can't wait till they put those lines up for the opening night. I'm ready to go. So, yeah, can't wait.
Enjoy your weekend, Adam, and we will touch base with you throughout the week. And we can't thank you enough. The hoops. Hopefully, the Final Four will have the Huskies in there going for the three-peat. How's that sound?
Listen, I think I would fade UConn this year. They're on my fade list. I am not buying where they're placed in the market. I don't think they're going to win a third straight title, but hey, they'll be in the mix. I mean, Dan Hurley and they'll be in the mix without a doubt. But I think there's going to be good spots to fade UConn. Maybe that's what we'll talk about next week. I have some good spots to fade UConn this year.
Adam, go have a weekend. Enjoy yourself.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Elijah, quick commercial break, and then we'll wrap it up.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, take me higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
If you're new to college basketball and you came here thinking that we're going to talk, the elite of the elite, we're talking preseason here, Kansas, Alabama, Houston, UConn, Gonzaga up there this year. We'll talk about those on Friday at some point. But Adam goes deep, deep, deep. I always talk about it here at ECSI, less tracked markets. And when he's talking SoCo, Patriot League, great questions from the chat as well. Adam does all that legwork, and you don't find many people with as much passion and dedication as he has, especially to the smaller markets. Absolutely blessed and honored to have him here every Friday, and a lot of probably live remotes as he's heading to Albany, as he's heading to Lehigh, as he's heading to Army, VMI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Shout out, of course, to Matt Grissom and the NCAA Insiders to lead off this show. And of course, Quentin Mills, you are definitely missed. Thank you for your service that you always do as well. Myself, last show of the day here on the ECSI network. I am heading up to Boston College. I do all the home games with Anthony Pepe. We work up there. Right now, currently, Louisville, 7.5 point favorites with a 54.5 under over. Kickoff there is at 7:30 tonight. World Series first pitch tonight. I think it's at around 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Currently at the Circa, you get the Dodgers minus 129 in the series. You can get the Yankees plus 118. I will leave everyone with this. The market tells me the series is ending in 6 games. Okay? 6 games, which would be in LA. I didn't say who's going to win the series. The ECSI VIPs already have the exact cold. We had Yankees defeating the Dodgers plus 1350. We had the Dodgers defeating the Yankees plus 1200 pre-flop before the tournament started. So we're in like Flynn, but I am telling you, if you want to jump into the series before the first pitch and you want to get cute, you don't know who to play. Play the Yankees to win in 6 at a nice plus price. Play the Dodgers to win in 6 at a nice plus price, and enjoy it. And the under over today is 8.5. It tells me there's going to be some runs scored. Cole versus Flaherty. Dodgers team total 4.5 over. Plus 105 if you're looking for some Dodger plus money there. Shout out to Elijah Cox, the best in the business. An amazing week, Elijah, from Lou yesterday, UFC 308, to the college football and basketball show. Can't thank you guys enough. Big crowd today. Do us a favor if you haven't already. Jump on over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Turn on all the notifications. Never miss a show here. And we will be back potentially tomorrow morning with Riley Magnuson at our Mags to talk some college football. Until then, have a great, blessed day. Enjoy yourself, and we will see you soon.